All right, let's cut the crap for the Cavs fans that want to believe, all part of this believe land crap. Let's put it this way. We all know what the painfully obvious truth is the Cleveland Cavaliers, when all is said and done, are just no match for the Golden State Warriors in their current configuration. You take a team that 2 years ago won an NBA championship, last season had a 3-1 series lead before that all-time epic choke job, where you could realistically argue that they should have won back-to-back championships, now has added a former league MVP and future Hall of Famer in Kevin Durant. Gone are guys like Harrison Barnes and Festus Ezeli. And now you add another all-star, another all-NBA type of guy, to a core of young players like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, with other key bench guys such as Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston. I mean, just watching the NBA Finals this year, it's clear to see that try as they might, the Cavs just don't have enough firepower. They just can't match up. They can't defend them, nor does it seem like they're particularly interested in trying to defend them. And they most certainly, on a consistent basis, cannot score with the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors generate too many easy shots, they move the basketball too well, and they're too good of a perimeter shooting team. Period. So whether it's Game 5, whether it's Game 6, or whatever the case might be, we all know that the Golden State Warriors are going to win the 2017 NBA Finals, which is going to lead to an offseason of soul searching for the Cleveland Cavaliers organization and trying to figure out how they get better to be able to stack up and really measure up to the Warriors and provide a more competitive go at them come next year. Because that's what they're going to be doing. It's going to be right back to the same thing again next year. So what do? Well, I don't think there's any easy answers here. And a lot of that has to do with the way this team gutted the future for the here and now, which when you're able to get LeBron James, that's what you have to do. You have a championship window as long as LeBron James is healthy and in the peak of his career. You have to go all in. And I ultimately give the Cavaliers credit for doing that. They've went all in. Dan Gilbert, that front office, they've went all in as an organization. They said, LeBron, you came back. We're going to honor our commitment to put a championship contending team around you. And that's exactly what they've done. Period. But there are dangers to that, and there are risks associated with that. Because when you go as all in as the Cleveland Cavaliers have, you really hamstring yourselves in terms of financial and salary cap flexibility and just overall roster maneuverability for several years. And when you look at this Cavaliers team heading into the 2017-2018 season, you can already see the bind that they're in. You know, LeBron James is on the books for $33 million of guaranteed money, worth every single penny and so much more. You know, he's one of those dudes that you feel like it's not right that you have to measure his number against the salary cap because you could never pay him really what he's worth. You know, to the league, to that organization, to that city, $33 million is an absolute bargain. But in an NBA era of salary cap, where the salary cap next year is going to be about $101 million, the simple truth of the matter is LeBron James takes up almost a third of your salary cap himself. He's the best player on the planet. He deserves to get paid like the best player on the planet. I have no problem with that. But understanding, if you're LeBron James, that by getting that much money, you are creating a situation where you hamstring your organization. You already take up a third almost of your team's salary cap space. You're getting 33 of the $101 million that is technically available under the cap. So that means with NBA rosters having 15 players, that this team has approximately $68 million or so to spend on 14 more guys. That's less than $5 million per player. And in a league and in a time and a space now where scrubs like Evan Turner and Alan Crabb are getting $17 and $18 million a year, Timothy Mozgov is getting $16 million a god-blessed frickin' year, it's not hard to see how much of a challenge it's really going to be. Then you got Kevin Love on the books for 3 more guaranteed years, 22.6, 24.1, 25.5 million. Kyrie Irving, another 2 years of big time money, 18.8 million this upcoming season, 20.1 the year after. Tristan Thompson, 3 more years of guaranteed money under the book, 16.4 million, 17.4 million, 18.5 million. J.R. Smith, 2 more years, 13.7 million, 14.7 million. Iman Shumpert's owed $10.3 million next year. Channing Frye is owed $7.4 million in guaranteed money next year. Richard Jefferson, $2.5 million. The point is, these 8 players, 4 of whom are over the age of 30, equal out to about $125 million of salary. An NBA salary cap, again, that is $101 million next season. They're already at $125 million. So not only are they double digits million over the salary cap itself, they're double digits million over the luxury tax threshold. They're going to be repeat luxury tax offenders, and they've still got to get 7 more guys for the freaking roster. That's crazy. Then when you look at the draft, they don't have their first round pick in 2017. They have their own as of right now in 2018, but likely won't as they try to acquire an additional piece for this core roster that they have right now. But for the moment, they still have one. But in 2019, more likely not, because of the Kyle Korver trade, they're going to lose that top 10 protected first round pick to Atlanta. So this is a team in the next 4 drafts only has 2 first round picks. Point being is there's not going to be a lot of young talent that comes in and helps this team. You've got a core that is very highly paid and getting older by the day. That's going to lack in an infusion of youth, athleticism, and talent. So I've heard some suggestions about what the Cavaliers can do. Oh, you can trade Kevin Love to the New York Knicks and get Carmelo Anthony. I don't know who came up with this dumb shit, but I've heard it multiple times, and this is fucking stupid. Why in the hell, if you're the Cavaliers, would you want to trade Kevin Love to acquire Carmelo Anthony, who's going to be 34 by the time next season ends, who's owed $26.2 million in 2017-2018, who himself is a ball hog vacuum of killer ball movement and ISO basketball? You already have a team that lives so much off of ISO ball with LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. You really think Carmelo Anthony is a good piece to fit into the mix who's going to slow them down offensively? A declining player who can struggle to stay healthy? You would give up Kevin Love as your third option to bring in Carmelo Anthony? That's moronic. Even more so, if you were going to do that, then you would have to sit there and go on the flip side and say, hey, to make the salaries match up because we're over the cap, we got to send somebody like Tristan Thompson and Iman Shumpert to the Knicks to get a Carmelo Anthony. And even if you did that, the Knicks, Phil Jackson, may be so desperate to get rid of him, he's happy to send him to Cleveland. Let him go play with LeBron. So now you've got a top 4 of LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, and Carmelo Anthony. You're still not matching up with the Golden State Warriors. Who the fuck is Carmelo Anthony going to defend? Who the fuck is Carmelo Anthony going to get easy shots for? Nobody. Carmelo Anthony coming to the Cleveland Cavaliers would appear to be nothing more than an unmitigated disaster. Disaster. And then you also have the risk of Carmelo Anthony at his advancing age and dwindling NBA career shelf life, looking at him picking up his player option for 2018-2019, where you're going to be on the hook for even more than $26 million. Give me a break. Then I've seen some suggestions about bringing in Dwayne Wade via free agency. Dwayne Wade, a guy who's never been a great shooter, a guy who still shows some occasional flashes as the Flash of being that dude, but they are fewer and farther between. All those injuries and all those years of wear and tear on his body, playing in playoff game after playoff game, finals game after finals game. You think Dwayne Wade, who's going to be age 36 next season, is somebody that can come in and really help the Cleveland Cavaliers? You are out of your goddamn minds. Out of your minds. If Dwayne Wade had enough left of what really mattered, even once Rondo went out for the Bulls, they would have still swept the Boston Celtics or at least beaten them in 5 games. The Boston Celtics, one of the worst number 1 seeds in either conference in NBA history. The Bulls had them down 2-0. They won 2 road games to kick off the series. If Dwayne Wade still had any elements of alpha dog left in him when it really mattered, when you needed and count on it, the Bulls would have won that series. Also, Dwayne Wade left Miami in large part because he was pissed off that they gave Chris Bosh a ton of money and kept asking him to take Miami discounts. He goes to Chicago. He gets big money. Why the hell would Dwayne Wade at this stage of his career, who's won 3 championships, want to take a severe discount to potentially play in LeBron's shadow again to try and chase another championship? How does his style of play fit? Again, another guy that's very much about iso ball. It'd be a disaster. I've seen some people suggest that they bring in both of them. Now you're just living in a fantasy land, and even if they did, even if you were able to make it work, and you threw Kevin Love out of the picture, and you've got LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Carmelo Anthony, and Dwayne Wade as your core, you haven't gotten better. You've gotten worse. You've gotten older, slower, and in particular, even worse on the glass and worse defensively. You've become worse as a shooting team as well. The simple truth of the matter is suggestions like Melo and Dwayne Wade are bullshit because they're just not realistic. Nor, even if you could make them happen, would they necessarily in any way guarantee the Cavaliers will be any better. In fact, it might make them worse. There really is no easy answer for how to make the Cleveland Cavaliers better because I just can't see how they can get better. This is the type of shit that happens when you give the type of money you did to guys like Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, and Iman Shumpert. When you're giving Tristan Thompson $16, $17, $18 million a year, J.R. Smith, a limited declining role player, $13, $14 million a year, Iman Shumpert, I don't even know what the fuck he is anymore, $10 million a year. You think about that. Come next season, the Cleveland Cavaliers are on the hook between Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, and Iman Shumpert. I want you to think about this. They're on the hook for over $40 million with these guys. Over $40 million. Like $40.5 million for these 3 guys. They pay Tristan Thompson $16 million a year next year. Who in the fuck does that? Who pays J.R. Smith almost $14 million a year? Iman Shumpert, $10 million a year. You know who does that? A team that thinks they've got a championship contending nucleus and they don't want to disrupt any of it because they've listened to LeBron too damn much and they haven't used good basketball sense. Years of trading away first-round pick after first-round pick, overpaying limited role players like Thompson, J.R. Smith, and Shumpert. And the simple fact of the matter is, so often what gets the Cavaliers in trouble is you see it throughout the finals. Shumpert gives them nothing. J.R. Smith gives them nothing. Tristan Thompson gives them nothing except going over the back and blowing defensive assignments. You cannot dedicate over $40 million to those 3 dudes and think that you have a way to create enough flexibility to be able to go and get your team better to actually really contend with the Golden State Warriors. Like the ridiculousness of signing Kevin Love to all that big money long term and then in thinking it was a good idea to sign Tristan Thompson to a huge contract too. Why? You didn't need to. And Tristan Thompson, once again in this NBA Finals, has been a nothing. And I don't give a shit what anybody says. He's a nothing in the grand scheme of things for the Cavaliers and what they need. They don't need him. Because the one thing that people grab onto that they think he's so great at, offensive rebounding, he's inconsistent in that space, usually has to commit fouls to even be good in that space, and then on top of that really doesn't do shit else well. Absolutely doesn't. The Cavaliers aren't getting any better. I just don't see how they are. And no, making roster moves and bringing in other names is in no way, shape, or form a guarantee that they get any better. In fact, they could potentially get worse. What it feels like you're watching now is a Cavaliers team that's going to stay largely intact next season with the belief that another year together, another year of chemistry, that they can figure out a way to get past the Warriors, and it's just not happening. The Cavs are who they are. I hope Cleveland enjoyed that title they got last season. Because at this moment, I see no way in hell that this organization is going to be able to deliver another one because they just don't have the ability and the flexibility financially under the salary cap to do so. And ultimately, the organization has nobody to blame but themselves for that. This is when the chickens come home to roost for paying guys like Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, and Iman Shumpert a shit ton of money for being scrub role players who more often than not contribute nothing in the grand scheme of things to your team. It's that simple. And until they can figure out a way to move all those contracts and invest their money more wisely, this Cavaliers team might make another NBA Finals or two, but that's it. I can't see how they're winning a championship. And LeBron's going to be 33 next year, so you realistically probably have a 3-year window with him as a peak player, as a top player in the game, and then he's going to start to decline, and it may come sooner than that. J.R. Smith's 32. The other guys on their bench like Channing Frye's 35 next year. Richard Jefferson's 37 next year. These guys are who they are. They're not getting any better, and nor are the Cleveland Cavaliers going to be able, I think, to make themselves better anytime soon.